should not exercise judgment in political affairs.
If we allow women to vote, it will mean the loss of social structure.
Vote for women! Vote for women! I'm that.
You work at the laundry?
Part-time from when I was 7, full-time from when I was 12.
We meet Mondays and Thursdays if you're interested.
You a suffragette, Mrs. Elliot?
I consider myself more of a soldier. As Mrs. Pankhurst says, it's deeds, not words, that will get us the vote.
Carey Mulligan plays this woman named Maud Watts in 1912 England as the suffragette movement is really starting to actually get a little bit feisty. In fact, its motto has become deeds, not words, and there's a lot going on. But the interesting thing that I think the director and the writer, the director is Sarah Gavron and the writer is Abi Morgan, and they've both been around and they're both very talented. One of the things they do that I think is really interesting is actually sort of putting a fictional character in the midst of characters who are based on actual figures.
If we got the vote,
what would you do with it, Maud?
do the same you do yours, Sonny. Exercise my rights.
Exercise your rights? You're a suffragette now? One of those panks?
No.
Mrs. Miller is. You know how they like to talk? You spend your time with her, that's what they'll call you. I'm only looking out for you, Maud.
I know.
It's all I've ever done.
One of the things I've been thinking about since seeing Suffragette and Telluride is this notion of like why they created, why the filmmakers decided not to make a biopic or a historical record. I mean, this is a historical record, but they decided to create a character, to make up a character. And I think I used to think that was like a cheat, but now I'm kind of intrigued by it. So one of the things is, though I wasn't in love with this movie, I really do want to see it again. And I think that people will find it, you know, we say entertaining when we're talking about tough movies, and I think what we really mean is engaging, and I think that this movie is engaging, but I personally am intrigued in seeing it again for reasons that have a lot to do with the choices that the filmmakers made. I think they really are trying to do a kind of gentle persuasion, but also in creating that character, Maud, they are trying to also say something, I think, about class.
Who gave you the right to stand in the middle of a riot and watch women beaten and do nothing? You're an hypocrite.
I uphold the law.
The law means nothing to me. I've had no say in making the law.
That's an excuse. It's all we have.
We break windows. We burn things, because war's the only language men listen to. Because you've beaten us and betrayed us and there's nothing else left.
Then there's nothing left but to stop you.
What are you going to do? Lock us all up? We're in every home. We're half the human race. You can't stop us all.
You might lose your life before this is over.
We will win.
Go see Suffragettes and then go see the documentary He Named Me Malala, because that's what Malala is trying to do to some degree. It's not suffrage, but education, women's education, global initiatives for education. So you put those two things together, you put these two movies together, and you have a really potent, and I think actually, two movies that speak to each other in very interesting ways. I think at a time where we're having these conversations about what constitutes appropriate activist organizational behavior, it's going to make for an interesting conversation. And I think it's surprising, of course, because I think what people will say is that it's the deeds, not words part of it is interesting because women were perceived as domestic and passive and not active in this way, so that the activism has this edge. I saw this movie in Telluride and I liked it, but hey, you know what? I was a women's studies major and I kind of wanted to love it. And I always think it's interesting when a movie that feels like it's built for you, you like, not love. And I thought part of that may be, and I've been thinking about it since seeing it in Telluride, which is a while back now, great performance, you know, really interesting performances. Carey Mulligan's very good, but there's something kind of, not reserved, but I wish this movie were made as feistily, as that activism was in some way. I don't know what it would look like. I don't know what that would be. But I think that this does sort of not have quite the contemporary energy that they were hoping. And that's why I said, you know what, throw it into a double bill with Malala, and all of a sudden you get all this like sort of, you know, the smart movies about feminism sort of speaking to each other in a different way, and you come out, I think you become a smarter moviegoer. But this movie by itself, maybe it's because I know it, it feels like it's not, you know, some movies are for preaching for the converted, some are for people that do not know the history. A little bit this is like a movie for those who do not know the history, a smart movie. And a thoughtful movie, an especially thoughtful movie, but not entirely one that will surprise people who know the work that women have done to get the vote.